directions or trying to explain maybe one of the activities that you're doing, give directions one at a time, checking that they kind of understand. A first then language approach can be really helpful too. It's an easy way to decrease language load and kind of condense and concise something by saying like, hey, first we're having a snack together, then we're gonna do our activity. So breaking it down just like 2 steps and kind of go from there. Another way to kind of approach it is if they're trying to communicate with you and you're having a really hard time understanding, again, you can ask them to try to tell you in another way. Maybe you get a pad of paper and have them write down their answer, or maybe you ask them a question and you're gonna write yes or no on the paper, and then they can point or circle their answer. So kind of think of ways, there's always ways around, like communication barriers are something that just takes a little creativity, and then you guys can find the best way that works for you. Visuals, again, always help. If you are making plans to hang out with your buddy, it can be really helpful to bring up the calendar and show them like what day and time that you guys have plans to meet up. We want to be encouraging them to participate, but not forcing them to. So at your meetings, I think it's great to say, you know, if you see someone who's kind of standing on the out, asking them, hey, would you like to sit with us? Would you like to join? Instead of saying, hey, come on, get over here. Here, take this, and then have them just kind of force them to start. So ask them questions, give them the opportunity to kind of participate on their own terms. If you do notice that someone seems a little bit overwhelmed, and you'll be able to kind of tell that by their body language or their facial expressions, by their movements. And sometimes too, our peers with disabilities can get really excited to have all these new friendships. And sometimes you can sense them getting a little kind of elevated, or their energy a little elevated. And sometimes you guys get elevated too, and you kind of realize, oops, we're elevating each other. So the best way that you guys can kind of try to start to bring that down is kind of just go back to your calm and even speech, and do your best to kind of model like coming back down if you feel like maybe your peers feeling a little overwhelmed. So just calm and even, again, not slow, not baby talk, not making a big deal of it, but just modeling how you can kind of come back down. And again, you'll be able, watching someone's body language says a lot, even when someone doesn't have a lot of words. So the next thing I just want to quickly go over is, so that kind of talks about like beginning friendships and kind of some barriers you might face. And then very quickly, your peers might become very comfortable with you. And they are going to be so excited to have so many new friends. And they're going to maybe want to see you and communicate. And they're so excited that they might not necessarily know how to socially and appropriately keep this friendship going. So I think it's really important for you guys to know that it is okay to set boundaries for yourself and for your friendships, especially if anybody here in a one-to-one friendship has been matched in a one-to-one? Awesome, that's great. So especially those of you who've been officially matched, just know that we want those friendships to be mutually beneficial. We don't want you to feel stressed out or overwhelmed by it, and it's okay to set boundaries with your buddy. So for example, if your buddy texted you at 11:30 at night and you were already asleep, it's okay to go to your buddy and say, hey, you know what, that was a little bit too late for me. Can you not text me past 9? Or kind of give them a clear and concise way of what you need. And I think clear is kind. And sometimes our peers with disabilities might not pick up on like, hey, thanks a lot for calling me after I was asleep. And that might not to them make sense of like, okay, all right, some people might be, okay, yeah, so now next time I'm not gonna text that late. So I think the more clear you can be, the more respectful that is to your buddy, for them to really know where you stand. So again, that can go with clarifying expectations of when you're gonna hang out or what you're gonna do. So they might wanna hang out all the time, and that might be a little bit overwhelming, so you can say, hey, right now, I'm in a really busy, like I've got a bunch of sports going on, like I'm just not available right now. So I can really only be able to see you on Thursdays. So again, setting that boundary and saying that is okay, and goes a long way for your buddies in teaching them how to have a healthy friendship, and that it goes both ways. Another thing obviously is respect personal space and privacy, which we're going to do for our buddies. But again, some buddies, you might notice, once they get to know you, all of a sudden you're getting tackled with bear hugs in the hallways when they see you, which is really awesome and exciting because they're excited to see you. But that might be too much for you. You're like, I'm not really a touchy-feely person, and that's okay for you to say to your buddy, hey, let's hold off with the bear hugs, but how about a fist bump? Or give them some choices. How about we do we got a handshake that we do in the hallway. So providing choices and options too as you're kind of establishing boundaries or kind of trying to come up with the best times for you guys to communicate or see each other. And if you can give them choices that work for you and your boundaries, that can be really helpful, because then it feels like it's both of you kind of having a conversation about what will work. And then also, it's okay to seek support and guidance from Emma, your chapter leaders, from your advisors. If the friendship is too much for you, if you feel like it's not working, that is okay. We want you guys to be open and honest about that, because we want these friendships to be authentic. So we don't want you to just kind of like grin and smile and nod throughout the whole year when you're matched with your buddy. We really want you guys to get to know each other and for it to be enjoyable for everybody. So setting boundaries is really healthy for you, and also really great again for them to know what friendships look like, as maybe they don't have many friendships, and maybe they haven't had a lot of real peer-to-peer friendships in high school, and that can look a lot different than what their friendships were in elementary school. So modeling those boundaries is a really great way to make sure you're not overwhelming yourself and showing respect for your buddy. So overall, just a couple of tips to take away from today is that our words matter, and your words affect attitudes, which affect your actions. So I feel like that's such a great saying of the words we use have more than just being out there. They really do carry quite a big weight of how we go about interacting with each other and what our views are. So obviously we're not going to use derogatory language, and then putting them first, so with people first language and being respectful in the way that you are referring to them or talking about them. We're going to be careful and mindful with our words. We are going to ask and not assume. We're going to not make assumptions about what people with disabilities can and cannot understand or what support they need. You're going to ask before helping. And also remember too that there's visible disabilities that are more easily recognizable, and then there's a lot of disabilities out there that are invisible, and it's hard to tell if someone has a disability, and sometimes they are often very misunderstood and not given the same kindness and compassion that they deserve. So keeping in mind, just knowing that we want to be treating everyone equally and as humans. We're going to be patient with them, again, not rushing through conversations, really giving them the time and space they need to have conversations and to get used to friendships and what that looks like. And then we're going to be respectful, obviously showing them respect in kind of the conversations that you have with your peers, and also in the decisions and activities that you guys do, making sure that you are asking them first, letting them kind of join and participate on their terms, and being age appropriate with them too. Like things that you guys like to do is the things that you should try to do with your buddies. And lastly, just a big point for all of this is you don't have to be an expert on disabilities. You don't have to be an expert on the disability history or the disability rights movement or knowing the right language to use. You don't have to be an expert in any of that to just be an ally and a friend. And to know that the best way to do that is to get to know someone with a disability on a personal level, and that alone is going to do wonders for you in the way that you act towards that community and how you showcase inclusion to others. So just a quick, I don't know how much time we have. 3:36. I don't know if we have time for this, do we? It's okay.
How long do you think it will take?
Like 10 minutes, but we can.
Can you do it in 5?
Yeah. The last activity was to I just wanted you guys to think about your next group meeting and the fact that you guys are a huge chapter. You're one of our bigger high school chapters in New Hampshire, which is amazing. And it's awesome. Like, you guys all believe in inclusion. You see the value and importance of it. I just wanted you guys to have a heads up of sometimes when your peers with disabilities are coming to your group meetings and they are walking into a room full of their peers, that sometimes they might be excited, but there's also other feelings that can come up with that. So I think just being aware that a lot of your peers with disabilities may have some sensory processing issues, so may get very overly stimulated by noise levels, by commotion, by feeling like they don't know what's coming or what to expect. So I wanted you guys to just kind of be aware and thinking of that for your next meeting of what can I do, or what are ways that we as a big group can make sure that your peers with disabilities coming into the room are feeling comfortable and welcome. So it might be making sure that, like, if you guys walk in and you feel like the room is loud, then guaranteed it's going to be too loud for them. So making sure that you are kind of being a little bit quieter and calmer, and not to say that you can't be like excited to see everybody, but just be a little bit more aware of what they might be feeling or thinking, and what that might look like. They might not be able to say how they're feeling or thinking, but what that, if you can think of some of your peers with disabilities, if they're feeling a little uncomfortable or overwhelmed, what actions might they be doing, and behaviors that might come out, and being aware and noticing that, and what can you guys do to make them feel like they'll want to keep coming to the group meetings and it's not too much for them. So anybody have any kind of tips or ideas that they'd like to share that they think would be a good way to make the group Best Buddies meetings a little bit more comfortable?
Do you guys want to turn and talk to your neighbor real quick?
Yeah, that was gonna
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have time, but
No, we can do 30 seconds of turn and talk to
Yeah.
your neighbor.
yeah. Did anybody have anything that came up with maybe something you wanted to share? Yeah.
Maybe not like raising your voice over like a 5 out of 10 unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, definitely. Noise level is huge, and you might notice, you're like people covering their ears or having a harder time kind of sitting and settling when it's too noisy. That's a real big one for our peers, and I think that's huge to make sure that you're not contributing to that noise level. And if you're hearing like the advisors or Emma talking and trying to kind of explain what the meeting's going to look like, or they're going to lay out the agenda, making sure that you're kind of paying attention to that and letting them hear what's going to happen, because it can be really calming and settling for them to know what to expect. So being able to come in and start the meeting, saying hi, but then making sure they know what the meeting is going to look like, and making sure that no one's kind of talking over so that they can hear what's happening, can be really helpful. Anything else? Any other ideas?
You guys all were really chatty. Can you give us a couple others? Can I hear what you come up with?
Abby Gray, I heard some good ones from you. Or Sophia.
If someone's like on the side, not necessarily pulling them into a big group, but going and maybe having a one-on-one conversation with them.
Yeah.
So it's not like kind of to distract them or have them something to focus on instead of having a big group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you have to be aware that, they're not necessarily used to being, people's different comfort levels when it comes to groups, and just for all of us, some of us feel more comfortable kind of in smaller friendship group settings versus kind of a big group. So I think that's a great thing to be aware of, is that, and maybe, there's certain people that everybody loves to run up to and say hi and are so happy that they're in the meeting, which is awesome, but maybe just being aware that if they're already kind of talking or having a conversation with someone, maybe give them that space and letting them just have that moment versus coming over and being and kind of joining in that conversation. That's a good one. Anything else? Maybe one other? Yeah.
Well, if you're doing an activity and you notice that someone can't fully participate, you can modify the activity in a way that they can participate in it.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Yeah, kind of going up to and kind of pairing up with someone and kind of in the moment thinking of a different way that they could be involved that works for their comfort level. I think that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to kind of hear this little spiel, and I hope it's helpful. I'm so impressed with the stuff that your chapter is already doing and the commitment level that all of you are showing to Best Buddies by coming to the meetings and showing up to the activities. That says a lot, and the people that you don't think are noticing in your school are noticing. They're noticing the way that you are treating each other, the things that you're doing not only in the chapter, but also, you know, watching you out in the hallways interacting with your friends, or just here and just your friends with disabilities too. So just so you know, you guys are doing an amazing job, and I think it's awesome that at this age you guys have kind of a passion and commitment for inclusion. So good job to all of you.